Well, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I still work a day job, still fiat mining during the day. So just got done with that, and now I'm at home, aka the office, and I'm gonna start working on Solo Satoshi.
Oh, let the listeners know a little bit about your background and how you got into it and got involved with BitAxe specifically.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a high voltage technician by trade, so not an electrician that messes with lower, basically home voltages, and not a lineman that works on high voltage lines that run on side of roads. But essentially, I travel the country and put up substations. So we work with voltages in the range of 4160 or 4160 volts, all the way up to 500,000 volts. So super high voltage, very dangerous, very high demand job. Lots of hours, always having to stay available. So essentially, that's where me and my business partner's work ethic comes from. Essentially, because we're so used to working all the time that this is really just second nature to us. This Solo Satoshi is actually fun for us. It's a break from the day to day high voltage stuff, So we're having a blast doing it.
Into it. When did you discover it, and when did you start putting pieces together and creating the product?
Well, so believe it or not, the whole company on its own is less than. I think me and Hunter were doing some math, and it's less than 100 days old. So
Wow.
completely wild. We're blown out of the water too. We're very, very grateful. We're very blessed. I think we just happen to be an early adopter in the right place at the right time. Like I said, very blessed. And how it actually got started is that Hunter and I first we bought our first BitAxe from a large retailer, and
Uh-huh.
I posted the. I don't know how to post in spaces. I haven't used this too much. I'm actually not a public speaker by any means. I'm pretty shy, but um, I made a post. I don't know if you can grab that and post it for people to see, but my last post
Yeah,
is
let
a
me try.
receipt. My last post is a receipt of me paying over $300 for a BitAxe. So fast forward to where we are today, we now list that same exact model for 148, $149, and that's shipped to your door. That's with everything. So when I got my first BitAxe in the mail and I opened it up, I was surprised at how small it was.
Right.
Pretty impressed by the size of this device and all of its specs. And but I was really disappointed at how expensive it was. And for those that don't know, BitAxe is a fully open source project. So open source hardware and software is supposed to be available to anyone.
Yeah.
Now obviously from a vendor perspective, we offer people the convenience of having a fully assembled unit, but on GitHub or the open source Miners United wiki, you can go and source all of these parts, build it, solder it, and flash the firmware yourself and save a lot of cost. But we offer the convenience. We do a lot of the logistics. We have customer service. We do support with people. So a lot of people like that aspect, right? Not a lot of people can buy a home, but a lot of people buy houses. Same
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, you sure do. I don't remember how I found you, but I located you on. Oh, now I do remember. I had a friend who has three bit axes he ordered from you, showed them to me, and then gave me your contact, tracked you down.
So just so you guys know as well, um, again, the group who basically builds around this entire project is OSMU, and that stands for Open Source Miners United.
Hmm.
And they actually have a support group inside of there as well. So um, we know technical things to help people get online and whatnot, and we know the do's and don'ts. But as per the really, really technical details, I mean, these guys, they're typing the code that makes these things run. They're doing the research, they're doing the actual hard work and pulling, the late hours and staying up all night to make all this possible. We're doing that on our end as well to distribute them, but those guys are the real
Now,
heroes.
if
So
someone wants to order one from you, do they go to solosatoshi.com?
yeah, there's multiple vendors, but yeah, there's solosatoshi.com, and there's a bunch of people are starting to carry them now. So it's a really good thing, and it encourages friendly competition, to see who can sell at the lowest. But unfortunately, it kind of gets some unfriendly competition for whatever reason. But we're in this all together. We're in this with the community, the people who develop these things, and the other people who sell them. We actually help each other out.
Well,
Um,
since you brought up price, as we speak right now, what are you selling yours for? Now you're selling you tell two kinds, right? The Supra is your high end. Is that the way to say it?
yeah, so the Supra is going to be what we would consider the latest and greatest for now. That one's going to be at 148.98, or 149. And that's through our website. Amazon is a little bit higher by default, and a lot of people poke at us for being higher on Amazon. Well, guys, I hate to say it, but Amazon is not as great of a place to sell as people think. Like, yes, you can do high volume through there, and I'm just being totally transparent. Like, if you're someone out there and you want to try to do something to make a little extra cash, you have to know these things. Amazon is there to take your money. Like, there is not
Are
a
you,
whole lot of profit to be made on Amazon. They take 8% straight off the top, and they will let someone return something no matter what's wrong with it. And so Amazon's a little bit higher. When you come through our website, we've actually been banned by some payment processors.
oh,
They've been very, very aggressive towards
wow,
us because we were selling Bitcoin miners or in Bitcoin things.
wow.
And but we're a little bit lower on that, around the 148, 149 mark. And then on if you pay with Bitcoin, it's $140, and that's shipped with a stand, power supply, everything. Obviously, we're in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is our currency of choice, and that's what we're more than happy to accept. So we try to encourage people to spend their Bitcoin and contribute to the circular Bitcoin economy, because it is there. Despite what people say save your Bitcoin. You should, but when you come across something worth value, Bitcoin really makes you think about your purchase. You're not just gonna go buy bubblegum with Bitcoin. But I think BitAxe is a really good device to spend Bitcoin on.
Was the type of person who bought them from you, were they all across the spectrum? Or were they more techie? Were they had previous mining experience, or were they just what type of makeup was the type of buyer that you saw there?
Well, it was funny because however many we brought, we didn't bring enough. We could never account for what happened when we were 4 hours outside of Nashville.
Yay.
It's so hilarious because we're 4 hours outside of Nashville. Is the day before the conference actually started, and we get notifications, and our stuff just starts blowing up that a BitX had actually found a block. So I mean, man, if we would have brought 1,000, it wouldn't have been enough. So
Okay, let's go
yeah.
to I was going to bring that up. Let's go to that. So literally, it was 24 hours before I met you in person. Obviously, I knew you before I had tracked you down. I had bought a Supra from you. I got it. I hooked it up. And so I made a point of trying to find you in Nashville just to say hello. And 24 hours prior to meeting, someone with a BitAxe had mined a block. And
Absolutely, yeah.
and now, how does the non-tech person, how does the person listening to this podcast um, today or tomorrow when they search it or when I get it posted across platforms, how do they know that that's not being faked by some BitAxe person? How can they super confirm, verify that a BitAxe in fact did that. Did you ever? I know it's anonymous when someone mines, and unless they want to come forward and reveal themselves, which they maybe they don't. Did you ever find out more information about that? Just
Right.
out of
Yeah.
curiosity
So
and the proof. How do we prove it to people that this really?
yeah, so it's actually block 853,742. If you go into mempool.space, that's where it's an open source project where you can see all the Bitcoin transactions settling, and you can see all the fees accumulating. It's basically the heartbeat of Bitcoin. You can go to mempool.space and you could search for block 853,742, and you could see that a miner in CK pool, which is a solo mining pool, actually uh, hit that or found that block, and it was a device that only had 500 gigahashes of hash power, and that is a Bitcoin. I mean, a BitAxe Supra.
So it's
So
that's an absolute certainty. It was a BitAxe Supra.
yes, it's even been confirmed by the guy that runs CK Pool as well. So it's definitely fact. It's there in the mempool forever. It's now buried with hundreds of transactions. It's a piece of history. It's stamped there forever.
What I just the timing, it was just amazing that happened. I was
Yeah.
so cool.
It was ridiculous. I mean, it was and I mean, me and my business partner, we were so worried. We took so many devices up there because we're so excited about this, and you never know like what's going to go on. You don't know if you're going to do really good, really bad, but
Sure.
we didn't want to disappoint. Well, like I said, nothing could really prepare us for that. I don't think we slept in 3 days, maybe a couple of hours. I mean, we were going, and you got to think, me and my business partner we are solo Satoshi. Like it's just me and one other person, and someone else that helps him in his household. So two of the three of us are out of town working, and Amazon's blowing up, and BTC Pay servers blowing up, and the website's blowing up, and it was just everything was off the ringer. It was, like I said, really blessed, really happy, um, just more happy for the project and the people who have contributed, because there's been so much hard work here that does not get seen by everyone else. These guys are working so hard on the back end, and I feel like not enough light gets shed on open source developers and people who contribute to open source projects. Everyone always sees the result of all the work, but they never get to see the people who actually put in all the work. So we were more happy for those guys than anything, because $5 from each unit sold from us actually goes back to that group of
Yeah.
people who develop on the project. So all this volume that's coming in, all these sales that are coming in, across the board, any vendor who's actually contributing back to OSMU, more sales, more volume goes back into those guys, and they get a chance to really focus in on developing more and building better models, which hits more blocks, and it just keeps going full circle. It's an amazing self-fulfilling circle.
Okay. For people who have no idea what mining is, and um, I'm a non-tech person, I ordered one of your devices, so I could see how someone might be intimidated to order this, but don't be. You can open it up and you plug it in. There's a YouTube video that you can pause, rewind, watch it, and if that's not good enough, you can text Matt and he can personally text you through it, which it took minutes just to set it up. But for people who have no idea what mining is, what is hash? What is hash for a non-tech person?
A hash is just a computation, so it's basically how hard the device is working. So the more hash power, the harder your device is working, but the more power you consume, but the more likely you are to actually produce as well. So it's proof of work. It's like the harder you work, the more you get rewarded, or the more likely that you'll be rewarded in Bitcoin mining, because Bitcoin mining is very competitive. It's very hard to do. Which is why we believe that BitAxe is one of the greatest projects ever, because I really don't believe that people are going to continue to spend 5 to 10,000 dollars in a bull market on large machines when Bitcoin mining is just becoming more and more harder over time.
Certainly, and
Um,
the point is the point basically that if enough people plug in a BitAxe, that it potentially could play a significant role in decentralizing the hash rate and thus securing the censorship resistant feature of Bitcoin. And further, not only plug in the BitAxe, but BitAxe is open. You can point it to any pool you want to, and it may be too technical, but you guys, this in the spirit of Bitcoin, um, maybe people would point it to a pool to help decentralize. Maybe you could explain that further. Is that the point of BitX, right? It's to get potentially millions of them out there to decentralize the hash rate, basically, right? Is that
yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's exactly the ethos is that BitAxe lowers the barrier for everyone to get in and start being a Bitcoin miner at a really small scale. Now, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of devices. It's going to take a lot of manufacturing scalability. It's going to take more developers doing more developing, and it's going to take the issue is ASIC chips. The ASIC chip supply chain is really controlled, and there aren't a lot available. But I know that chips only come from a certain part of the world, from a they come from a certain part of the world. It's very controlled, and there's not a lot of chips readily available to buy singular like buttons. Um,
but to give the audience some sense of it, like an S21 ASIC, which is, I think, the most modern one, has approximately, is it 324 chips on that board?
yeah,
And the
it's in the hundreds. Yes.
and a S21 ASIC new, I don't know. Does it cost around $4,000 approximately? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can get them from around, yeah, probably 3 to 5 thousand. So, yeah.
And then do you really yourself, do you take one of those and then you take all 324 chips off and then you build 324 bit axes? Is that really how it works?
Well, so Solo Satoshi does no building of any devices. We'd actually like to clear this up because this is just a common misconception. There's a US based manufacturer or someone who assembles BitAxe inside the group OSMU. And yes, they actually break down devices and put the hash boards on hot plates and pick the chips off one by one because ASIC chips are so controlled. It's so controlled, and not only are they so controlled, there's middlemen in between. You cannot just buy the ASIC chip from like the manufacturer. There's middlemen who mark the chips up to 30, 40, 50, $60 a piece. And this is something that people really don't understand when they want to buy a BitAxe. Yes, BitAxe is still, in my opinion, right now, very expensive, but at the same time, it's they're hoarding the chips from people. So we hope that when Jack Dorsey, the old CEO of Twitter, and Block, when they start to develop ASIC chips, hopefully some of those can trickle down to what we would call like this secondary market here, this open source market, and really start helping people uh, develop better and just more efficiently and provide lower cost to customers because the lower cost is or the cost of anything is absolutely the barrier to entry
Okay,
across the board.
since you brought it up, has Block, Jack, released their home miner yet? And do we know the cost of that? I haven't followed that.
I think they've released. It's been so as you can imagine, it's been really hard for us to keep up with outside world news. Or this is actually in our industry, but it's just me and Hunter running the business. So it's like work, work and then sleep and then work, work, sleep. So it's crazy, but they
Was
have
that Hunter, the other guy at the booth in Nashville? That
yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was talking to you, and the table was busy. And okay,
Yeah, so they've actually released it's like a developer pack. So I want to say there's a control board, there's some ASICs on it. It's not actually blocks ASICs. I think it's like the old Intel ASICs or something.
Mhm.
Um, so there's stuff in development, or they're trickling down stuff for developers to play with, but nothing's actually out yet from Block as for like an ASIC chip. That's
Okay.
what I was told
So
last.
for listeners, they could keep an eye on Block on X and watch that release because they're going to, I guess, reveal and release a home miner at some point. Speaking of that, what is the future of BitAxe? Are you guys going to come out with multiple chip devices? Like instead of a single chip, will you come up with a 3-chip or multi-chip device, or is that too much for what's coming? What do you see coming?
Well, so again, we us personally, we don't really come out with anything, but there's a lot of people who contribute to this group that develop on the BitX project. And there are things coming out like here soon they'll have something called the BitX Gamma. So that unit is going to use a more powerful chip from a newer S21 model that's being released by Bitmain, and that unit's gonna put out somewhere between, it's going to be over 1 terahash. There's
Hmm.
no real I want to say R&D is being done on it right now, and I want to say they're getting around 1.1 1.3 terahash, kind of fluctuating. So that project's super exciting. There's some other vendors or other manufacturers around the world who build the BitAxe hex. That one uses the 1368 chip, which is, or 1366 chip, which is less efficient, not as much hash power, So there's been some talk of potentially a 6 chip hex being released with the 1370 as well. And that one would be somewhere north of 6 terahash. Like that one would be really crazy. And that's what I tell to people who think that BitAxe does not hold a significant value in the mining space, is that these single ASIC chip open source miners are just the beginning. I mean, this is like the flip phone to the Apple phone, or the really
Yeah.
sophisticated Galaxy phone you hold in your hand right now. This is just this is the very beginning. This is like a flip phone in the grand scheme of things. This is only going to go up over time, and technology grows exponentially, and it gets adopted exponentially as well.
Yeah, it's hard to overestimate the significance of this project. Bob Burnett, um, he put up a tweet that said that it's only a matter of time before financial services companies and nation states emerge as the mining powerhouses. And so to get these, you know, potentially millions of bit axes and other home miners out into the world would be a significant thing to prevent the centralization of BitX. What's the motivation?
Anyone from just introverted tech guys who do development down to people you would never think come up and ask you about a BitAxe, just everyone from all walks of life. I mean, from all around the world. I think we sold probably 15 to a guy from South Africa who was going to go distribute them.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to not only distribute them in the United States, we're trying to distribute them globally, because people in developing countries really, really appreciate this project more, because Bitcoin means much, much more to them, because their currencies are completely depleted due to inflation. So the thought of them potentially finding a block with this device is like their uh version of the American dream, or what the American dream used to be. It's their shot at financial freedom. But at the conference, we've seen people from all walks of life. I mean, the whole, yeah.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that, like, it's when you first get your first amount of Bitcoin sent to you on a Lightning wallet, maybe, and then you say, "Oh, this is neat," and you start going down the rabbit hole, learning more and more about it. So, if you get a BitX, a single chip miner, you plug it in, you play with it, you watch, and you kind of start your journey. Maybe that might lead to setting up your own node eventually, maybe not, or buying Bitcoin and self-custodying your own Bitcoin.
So I
Um,
think what really got me into Bitcoin mining was that, I mean, my whole journey into Bitcoin was just kind of crazy. I read a couple books that just snowballed, essentially books that didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. They were financial books. Because I liked stocks, I liked real estate, I liked all those things. And I've always been a reader of that since I was in my younger age. Well, I read another book, got a hold to the creature from Jekyll Island, and I think that's where everything just went south. After that, I was like, "What?" You know, that caused me to do more research, and the end of my journey just came to like Bitcoin being the alpha of every financial asset. You know, it is really the perfect money. It is the perfect financial asset. It is what everyone wants when they invest in something. It has every property, every characteristic of everything, but all in a you know a digital a digital currency. Like it's completely insane.
okay, so for the non-tech listeners, if they buy a BitAxe and they plug it in, they have the option to just do lottery mining, like a lottery ticket, just like it sounds. You plug it into the wall, and I don't know what the odds are. It seems like I heard a podcast. A guy said, "Well, it's about 1 in 8 million chances that you're going to mine a block," but that's about either the same or depends on the lottery you're playing. But you can lottery mine. That's a way I think probably I assume a lot of people do it. But also you can point it to a certain pool that does a guaranteed payout, right? And it pays you probably how much a month? I have no idea, probably a couple bucks a month, right? Something like that.
um yeah, it's not much. If you point it to something that does a lightning payout, you could accumulate a few satoshis. I want to say it might be about 50, or actually it's probably around like 43 to 46 satoshis a day. So not very much in the grand scheme of things. But the really cool thing about BitAxe is that it's zero maintenance and it literally costs hardly anything to run. It's a one shot, one payment lottery ticket that sits on a coffee table, sits on the end table, sits on a computer desk or a bookshelf, and constantly sits there and runs the SHA-256 algorithm and has a potential to hit a block every 10 minutes. And just that alone, I mean, is you want to talk about the amount of people that play the Powerball scratch offs, they do all this sports gambling, stuff like that. This is a way for someone to make an investment or, try to play the lottery system and also help secure a money that a lot of people in this world all around the globe consider freedom money. But yes, typically to set your BitX up initially, you have to have a valid on-chain Bitcoin address.
It's
Yeah,
always
it's going to
mining.
mine 24/7 and until you unplug it or something of that nature. If you wanted to check it, you can always go to web.public-pool .io, and you could monitor the hash rate of your device there.
What happens then?
If you were to hit a block, then you would get an on-chain transaction for the fees and the block reward. And I guess depending on what type of software or wallet software or hardware you were using, you could potentially get a notification. But I know the little screen on your BitX will say block found, and I think that's super cool.
Okay.
And not only that, there's so many people watching for one of these devices to hit that literally in 5 minutes, the whole Twitter world is going to know about a BitX hitting a block. So the only thing it requires to run is Wi-Fi and a power source. Your phone
Correct.
or laptop or anything else being connected to it or monitoring the dashboard doesn't matter. So once that device is set up, you can literally leave the house, go grocery shopping, do whatever you want. That BitX is going to stay there. It's going to stay running. It's going to stay hashing, and everything checks out.
How can people what's the easiest way to get a hold of you or DM you or order a BitAxe? Is it solosatoshi.com?
Yeah. Anyone can go to solosatoshi.com. You guys can email Matt at solosatoshi.com. Um, Depends on who you are. We do give our personal phone numbers out sometimes. We don't really have a business phone number. Um, but we're definitely not scared to talk to people personally. You can always DM me over X. That seems to be what everyone wants to do. So I have a large portion of my day that goes over all my X DMs. We're always filling up with emails. Um, Everything's just crazy right now. So if I cannot get to anyone immediately, you have to forgive me. We try to make sure everyone's happy, but it's really hard to keep everyone happy and ourselves happy. So
Oh,
we
you're amazing. I mean, you are so responsive. I know you have like a real job. You're super busy, and but you do get back in a timely way. It's
we
great.
try to
And
make that a priority. I don't think there's a whole lot of other vendors that are doing what we do, and I think that's what makes us stand out. And it's not trying to trash talk anyone or put anyone down, but we literally try to pride ourselves on the customer service sides of things. I know how,
plus, it's kind of a one-off, right? Because when they first get it, they might call you, but once you've walked them through it, if they're not comfortable, then they're probably not going to call you back. They don't need to call
yeah,
you
I
back,
mean,
right? I
and
mean,
it, people come and buy one, and then all of a sudden, we still do all the fulfillment, we do all the shipping and stuff ourselves. So we see the
yeah.
same names over and over again, and we're like, dang, this person just bought five, but he just bought one last week, and then there's people who order them every single week. I mean, I swear I see the same name every week. It's so crazy. Even at the conference, people who hadn't even heard the news yet, they were like, "What are you guys selling? These things look cool." And then we give them the whole spiel of what BitAxe is and what it does, and how one had recently found a block, and it was just the craziest thing to get everyone's interaction and see how interested people were in the project. It gave us so much confidence that we're on the right path and doing the right thing, because as a very very productive individual, and just kind of as a man in general, when you finally stop at night and you rest and you're just sitting there, your intrusive thoughts really start running in your head, and you're like, is everything I'm doing worth it? I'm neglecting myself, my family, my body, everything. I'm putting everything I have into this. Is this really the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And then all of a sudden something happens like that, and it just shows you that you're on the right path. And that's what we're so happy about, is that we get to be here and experience this, because Bitcoin has given me such an amazing experience ever since I adopted it 100%. And by the way, I am in 100%. People talk about being in 100%. They're not. I'm in Solo Satoshi and Bitcoin 100%, if that makes sense. But it's provided me such a good experience that I've always wanted to give back to Bitcoin, no matter how I could. And this project has allowed me to do that. I feel like by trying to decentralize hash rate, bring the most affordable devices to customers and people around the world, I feel like we are doing Bitcoin a very, very good service, and we're implementing the vision that Satoshi had for the network. And we feel like we're in the right spot doing the right thing, and that's how we're going to continue to lead day in and day out.
So your company is about 100 days old. Do you see yourself doing this in 3, 6, 9 months, and 12 months? The space is moving so fast. You've now going with
I'll be
this.
surprised if I'm still working my fiat job by January of next
Yeah,
year.
I was so hoping you were
Yeah.
going to say that, but I
Yeah.
didn't know what your answer was going to
Because
be.
like I say, you always wonder if you're doing the right thing, or what you're always so like trying not to be irrational, right? But Bitcoiners, we're irrational, and
Sure.
especially me in general. I'm so quick to jump whenever I see just an opportunity or something. Like I'm a jumper. I'm not scared to take risk and chase opportunities and freedom. And that's what I see this becoming. And I can absolutely see myself doing this in another 10, 20 years. I think one of the visions for Solo Satoshi is trying to be a hub for open source Bitcoin hardware across the board. There's
Mm,
really no one who's doing it on a really, really huge scale. And what we'd really like to do is create a platform where open source developers can come list their products, and we can get these things on the market for them and market them for them, and get them distributed globally like that. Because a lot of what we find is a lot of these guys who do the developing and essentially what you would call all the nerdy things, like to the normal person. Like these guys are really cool,
Hmm.
but they're super introverted. They don't want to deal with people. They
Sure.
don't want to deal with customers. They don't want to deal with support. But these guys are amazing. They make some really amazing things from like nothing. And there's no one who wants to get this stuff on the market to other people. And a lot of these guys have the brains and the willpower to put the pedal to the metal. They just need the distribution capabilities. Essentially, they just need people to speak up for them, people with huge or big followings, just to speak up and put their product out there on the market, because there is a huge market for this.
Yeah, and you saw it firsthand. Was that the first show that you worked, the largest Bitcoin show conference in the
Yeah,
world?
so I was, believe it or not, I was one of those introverts at one time when I first started in Bitcoin, and I got on and I stumbled across Bitcoin Twitter, which was a really wild place. I was anonymous. I sat in the background for a very long time, and I seen people rise in popularity and fall in popularity because they just weren't honest with the community. And I've since learned that you need to be transparent. You have to be transparent, honest. You have to lead with integrity and do all the right things, because the people in this community are not dumb. They, as soon as they sniff corruption or anything, they will call you out on it and hold you to that standard. And that's the way we try to lead in the grand scheme of things. We always try to do the right thing. We always try to be respectable, transparent, and offer the best services possible.
Is there been a personal growth too along this
Yeah,
journey?
I mean, I used to be a very pessimistic person about the future, and I used to never see the world becoming a better place and everything always being bad. And that's just kind of from growing up and seeing a lot of things not being in good areas and good situations and things like that. Um, Hunter and I are both from humble beginnings, and so as we grow into this, that's just the way we continue to carry ourselves. But Bitcoin's given me optimism for the future. It's I'm not at the financial freedom aspect yet, because it's just a grind to get there. And even if I was there, I think I would do all of this just because I love it. Like it's such a huge purpose.
Would you say that was that optimism a thunderbolt, a lightning moment, or was it gradual? You just woke up one day and you were more optimistic, or can you target? Was it like 100 days ago when you launched this and it started to work?
No, it's
What
it's a gradual optimism each day. I mean, the actual the realization of Bitcoin being the best thing was pretty sudden, because all roads lead to Bitcoin. Like all mathematical possibilities lead to Bitcoin if you look at the grand scheme of things. But it was a gradual progression into that optimism, because Bitcoin is a constant learning experience. It's not, you don't just learn all of it at one time, but you start applying it to different things that you see in your life, and you just I started looking at the world with a lot more optimism, compared to being so down and pessimistic about things happening. It Bitcoin's really made me look at everything from a different lens and definitely be a lot more positive person.
gradually, then
Yeah.
suddenly? Well, very cool. What else do you want to include that we didn't include today? And for people listening, you can find Solo Satoshi at Solo Satoshi on X, and then everything's listed there. And what else do you want to mention today?
Um just just give a shout out to everybody that contributes to the project, man. I mean, those guys are the real MVPs. There's some crazy things coming downstream in the future, when it comes to BitAxe. And I mean, I'm not joking when I tell you these guys don't sleep. The thing about open source is that it's a global effort. So when the United States, or when North and South America are going to sleep, the other side of the world is waking up, and this is what we deal with every day, which is why we hardly sleep, because our customers are always awake on either side of the world. And this is a global effort to decentralize Bitcoin mining. There is no just one person doing this. It's a global group of people who are literally contributing their time and their efforts to try and decentralize Bitcoin mining, and they're doing a very, very fine job of it. And if you want to contribute to these guys, you can look up Open Source Miners United, and you can donate to those guys. They distribute they distribute money out for bounties and for people to find bugs in firmware, software. Um, these guys are doing the right thing, and I want to give them a lot of shout out, a lot of praise. And then Scott, the guy who is basically the brains behind BitAxe, I just want to give him a big shout out too, because without him, none of this would be possible, and we wouldn't be where we are. And we were with him, and I was like, this is crazy.
Well, good for you. I mean, the timing was amazing, and you were so gracious with your time. And uh, I, thank you for your time today and explaining all this. I'll try to get this edited down to something a little bit shorter and post it across platforms. And so hopefully continue to get the word out there, because the goal is to get as many BitAxes or get as many miners out there, decentralize and decentralize the space as much as possible. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And by the way, you agreed to do this on such short notice, because I texted you a few hours ago and you said, yeah, let's do it tonight. And so I said, yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of time these days, but I tell you what, man, I've been owing you this one for a while, and you've been very patient. We've been talking back and forth, and like I said, I feel terrible, man. I just can't get to everybody, but
No, I stayed backed off because I knew you were so busy. I didn't want to pester you. You had told me you'd do the interview a month or so ago. I don't remember. And then, and I saw, you wanted to say hi at the conference, and then you were just but you were so gracious. You spent, I think, 10 minutes with me talking, and then I let you go.
yeah,
So anyway, it's been fun dealing with you, and thank you for your time today.
yeah. Thanks for having me, and again, just thanks to everyone who contributes to the project. And I'd really love to see people just start building their own thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Start learning, start building, get your project out there. And man, if it's a great project and it has a lot of potential, we'll list it on our website. I mean, that's our overall goal. Like, we'll try to help you with scaling. We'd eventually like to get to a place where we can donate to open source developers large sums of money. We want to give back. We're not here just for high profits. Do we get paid for our time? Absolutely. But are we here to try to be billionaires? No, it's we want to decentralize Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin. We want to keep Bitcoin decentralized in general. That's the overall goal. That's the overall ethos.